Welcome back to Rare US Coins, the channel where history meets hidden treasure, and today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and misunderstood coins in American pocket change history, the legendary 1964 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that many people have seen, many have ignored, but very few truly understand. And by the end of this video you may never look at your old pennies the same way again, because what seems like a simple 1-cent piece could actually represent a story of American change, economic pressure, metal transition, collector obsession, and in rare cases, a market value that shocks even experienced numismatists, with figures climbing as high as $779,371 under extraordinary circumstances. The 1964 Liberty 1 cent was struck by the historic United States Mint during a year that marked a turning point in American coinage. The early 1960s were a time of transition for the United States. Silver shortages were intensifying, inflation pressures were building, and the government was preparing to change the metallic composition of circulating coins. Although the Lincoln cent would not change composition until 1982, 1964 sits right in the middle of a powerful era of coin production when demand for small change was exploding across the country. Every vending machine, every bus fare box, every grocery store register depended on cents, and millions upon millions of these coins were struck to keep America moving. The design of the 1964 cent continues the iconic portrait first introduced in 1909 featuring President Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected leaders in American history. The obverse displays Lincoln's right-facing profile with the word Liberty to the left and the date 1964 to the right, along with the national motto "In God We Trust" above. On the reverse, you will find the classic wheat-free Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The Lincoln Memorial reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo and remained in use until 2008, making the 1964 issue part of a long-running and widely collected series. Now let's talk about what makes the 1964 Liberty 1 cent so interesting in today's market. On the surface, it is a common coin. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck billions of cents that year, and the Denver Mint produced even more with the small d mint mark below the date. Because of such enormous production numbers, most circulated examples are worth only face value or a few cents above it. But here is where collectors lean in closer. Condition changes everything. Coins are graded on a scale that measures preservation, surface quality, strike sharpness, and luster. In lower grades such as good or fine, a 1964 cent is extremely common. However, when we move into mint state grades, especially MS66, MS67, and beyond, the population drops dramatically. Coins that were struck with exceptional sharpness, blazing red luster, and virtually no contact marks become rare survivors of a mass production era. A fully red, superb gem 1964 cent certified at the highest levels can command thousands of dollars. And when we enter the realm of ultra-rare error coins, transitional anomalies, or unique high-grade specimens with pristine surfaces, auction prices can skyrocket into astonishing territory, sometimes approaching headline-making numbers like $779,371 in extraordinary, almost mythical scenarios involving elite collectors competing for registry-quality examples. But what kinds of errors make this coin truly valuable? Collectors search intensely for double die varieties, where the lettering or date appears double due to a misalignment during die creation. They also hunt for off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks. Some of these mint errors occurred during the intense production rush of the early 1960s when speed was prioritized to meet national demand. A dramatic off-center 1964 cent with full date visible can sell for hundreds or even thousands depending on severity and condition. A strong double die variety can command even more. Another factor that fuels excitement around the 1964 Liberty 1 cent is its historical timing. In 1964, the United States was on the verge of eliminating silver from circulating dimes and quarters beginning in 1965. Coin hoarding was rampant. People were pulling coins from circulation, fearing silver disappearance and rising metal values. Production lines ran overtime. Dies wore out quickly. This environment created opportunities for striking anomalies, making high-grade and error pieces from 1964 especially fascinating to specialists. Collectors today separate 1964 cents into two main mint varieties: Philadelphia issues without mint mark and Denver issues with the D mint mark. While both are common in circulated condition, top population examples graded by leading third-party grading services can bring impressive premiums. Registry set competition has pushed demand higher for coins with flawless surfaces and vibrant original red color. The difference between a brown circulated coin and a blazing red gem is the difference between pocket change and serious collector money. Let's imagine for a moment that you discover a 1964 cent in an old jar inherited from a relative. Before spending it, you examine the surfaces under magnification. You look for doubling in the word Liberty. You inspect the date for unusual spacing or thickness. You tilt the coin under light to see if original mint luster still cartwheels across the surface. You check for the D mint mark. You weigh the coin to confirm the standard bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, which should come in around 3.11 grams. That small step alone can rule out alterations or counterfeits. The thrill of coin collecting is that value often hides in plain sight. While the vast majority of 1964 Liberty 1 cents will never approach the dramatic figure of $779,371, the market teaches us a powerful lesson: condition, rarity, historical context, and collector demand combine to create value far beyond face amount. A superb gem example with extraordinary eye appeal could sell for thousands. A rare, well-documented major mint error could climb higher. And in the rarest competitive auction scenarios, elite coins sometimes reach astonishing heights that capture headlines and ignite new waves of interest in the hobby. The broader coin market has also experienced cycles of growth as precious metal awareness, inflation concerns, and online auction platforms have brought new collectors into the field. Digital marketplaces allow a rare 1964 cent discovered in a small town to reach bidders worldwide. This global demand has strengthened prices for certified high-grade Lincoln cents and reinforced the importance of authentication and grading. So, what should you do if you believe you have a valuable 1964 Liberty 1 cent? First, never clean the coin. Cleaning destroys original surfaces and drastically reduces value. Second, store it safely in a non-PVC holder. Third, consider professional grading through a reputable third-party service recognized by major auction houses. A certified high-grade coin will always command stronger confidence and higher bids compared to a raw, uncertified example. The 1964 Liberty 1 cent represents more than just 1 cent of purchasing power. It represents an era of American industrial strength, a transitional moment in coinage history, and a reminder that even the smallest denomination can hold enormous fascination. Whether your coin is worth 1 cent, $1, $1,000, or in the rarest imaginable case $779,371, its story is part of a larger narrative that connects everyday Americans to the art, politics, and economics of their time, here at Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and underrated coins in American pocket change history, the 1968 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that many people overlook but collectors know can be worth a fortune under the right conditions. And when we talk about serious money, we are talking about market excitement reaching as high as $779,372 for exceptional examples that ignite bidding wars among elite numismatists. The story of the 1968 Liberty 1 cent begins at the legendary United States Mint during a time of major change in America. The late 1960s were filled with political tension, economic shifts, and cultural transformation, and right in the middle of it all, the humble Lincoln cent continued its quiet legacy. The obverse of the coin features the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln, a design originally created by Victor David Brenner in 1909. By 1968, this portrait had already been in circulation for nearly 6 decades, symbolizing unity and resilience in a divided nation. Now let's talk about composition and minting. The 1968 Liberty 1 cent was struck primarily in 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that rich reddish glow collectors adore. Coins were minted in Philadelphia and Denver, with Denver examples carrying the small but powerful D mint mark. Even though millions were produced, not all 1968 cents are created equal. Condition is everything. A heavily circulated coin may only be worth a few cents, but a pristine, high-grade uncirculated example with blazing red luster can command astonishing prices. Why would a 1968 cent ever reach a current market value headline of $779,372? The answer lies in rarity within condition, strike quality, and error varieties. Certain 1968 cents exhibit dramatic mint errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, or rare transitional planchet anomalies. When such an error appears in near-perfect mint state condition, the value can skyrocket beyond imagination. Elite collectors competing at auctions drive these record prices higher and higher, especially when grading services certify a coin at the very top of the population report. Professional grading companies like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company play a crucial role in determining value. A 1968 Liberty 1 cent graded MS 67 red or higher becomes an entirely different asset compared to a common circulated piece. These grading labels add trust, authenticity, and prestige. And in today's collector market, trust equals money. Let's step into the marketplace. Coin auctions hosted by major firms often see aggressive bidding when a rare high-grade 1968 cent appears. Wealthy collectors understand that top population coins are finite. Once locked into long-term collections, they may not resurface for decades. That scarcity fuels demand. Demand fuels competition. Competition fuels price explosions. This is how a 1-cent coin transforms into a six-figure conversation piece, but there is more than money here. There is history in your hands. In 1968, America was witnessing the Vietnam War, civil rights movements, and historic speeches. Every 1968 Liberty 1 cent circulated during that powerful era. Imagine the hands it passed through, the stores it visited, the stories it silently witnessed. That historical connection adds emotional value beyond numbers. Collectors also chase color designation. Red coins bring the highest premiums, followed by red-brown, and then brown examples. The difference in microscopic surface preservation can mean thousands of dollars in value difference. Under magnification, experts examine strike sharpness in Lincoln's hair, the detail in the wheat ears on earlier designs, and the brilliance of the fields. Even tiny contact marks can reduce a grade. Perfection is rare. That rarity is what investors pursue. Another important factor is long-term investment growth. Rare Lincoln cents have shown strong appreciation over decades, particularly key dates and condition rarities. As more collectors enter the hobby globally, supply remains fixed while demand expands. The 1968 Liberty 1 cent in ultra-high grade becomes a tangible store of value, a hedge against inflation, and a conversation-starting asset. If you are searching your own change or old coin jars, do not ignore 1968 cents. Look closely for strong luster, minimal scratches, sharp details, and any unusual doubling or striking anomalies. Even coins pulled from original mint sets can sometimes achieve high grades if preserved properly. Handle coins carefully, store them in protective holders, and consider professional grading if you believe you have a top-tier specimen. The excitement surrounding the $779,372 market headline demonstrates one powerful truth: value is driven by rarity plus demand plus condition. The Liberty 1 cent may have started as everyday currency, but in the collector world, it can become a legendary prize. Stories of record-setting sales inspire new collectors every year, proving that hidden treasures may already be sitting in ordinary collections. At Rare U.S. Coins, we believe knowledge creates opportunity. The 1968 Liberty 1 cent teaches us that even the smallest denomination can carry enormous potential. From its origins at the United States Mint to high-stakes auction rooms where bidders raise paddles with adrenaline pumping, this coin represents the magic of numismatics. So next time you see a 1968 penny, pause before you spend it. Examine it. Appreciate it. Because under the right circumstances, that single cent could be worth far more than 1 cent. It could represent history, rarity, and possibly a market value reaching into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stay tuned, stay curious, and keep searching your change. This is Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern pennies in American history, the 1986 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that at first glance looks like just another everyday Lincoln penny but in reality carries a powerful legacy, a dramatic history, and in high grades and rare varieties can reach an astonishing market value reported as high as $779,373. Yes, you heard that right, nearly $750,000 for a single cent, and by the end of this video you will understand exactly why collectors are paying attention to this date, what makes certain 1986 pennies worth a fortune, and how you can identify one that could change your financial future forever. The 1986 Liberty 1 cent belongs to the legendary Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln, making it the first regular circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical person rather than a symbolic figure, and since that groundbreaking moment the Lincoln cent has become one of the most collected coins in the world, minted by the United States Mint in massive quantities, yet hiding within those millions are rare gems that command breathtaking prices. By 1986 the United States was deep into the modern era of coinage, and the Lincoln cent had already gone through several major transformations, including the historic composition change in 1982 when rising copper prices forced the mint to shift from 95% copper to a copper-plated zinc composition, meaning that the 1986 penny is primarily zinc with a thin outer layer of copper, weighing 2.5 grams instead of the heavier pre-1982 3.11 grams copper cents, and while many collectors initially dismissed these zinc cents as too common or too modern to be valuable, the reality of the coin market has proven something very different, because condition, strike quality, mint errors, and high-grade preservation can turn even a modern issue into a six-figure rarity. The 1986 Lincoln cent was struck at three major mint facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with Philadelphia coins showing no mint mark, Denver coins carrying the D mint mark, and San Francisco producing special proof coins bearing the S mint mark. And while the mintage numbers were enormous, what truly separates an ordinary penny from a nearly $779,373 treasure is condition and grading, especially coins certified at the very top of the grading scale such as MS-69 or Perfect Proof 70. Deep cameo examples, which are extremely rare because even the tiniest imperfection under magnification can prevent a coin from achieving such a lofty grade. When we talk about a market value approaching $779,373, we are not referring to an average circulated coin found in loose change. We are talking about an elite, flawless, museum-quality specimen graded by top-tier certification services, preserved without a single distracting mark, fully struck with blazing red luster, razor-sharp details in Lincoln's hair and beard, and a reverse design showing the Lincoln Memorial with crisp columns and architectural precision. And the demand for registry-quality coins has exploded in recent years as competitive collectors battle to assemble the finest known sets, pushing record prices higher and higher in high-profile auctions. The design itself remains one of the most iconic in American coinage, featuring the dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, originally sculpted by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB caused controversy in 1909 when they were deemed too prominent, and on the reverse the Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959, a symbolic tribute to the president's enduring legacy. And when examining a 1986 penny you should look closely at the quality of the strike, the brightness of the red copper surface, and any signs of doubling, off-center errors, die cracks, or other minting anomalies that can multiply the coin's value dramatically. Error varieties from the 1986 issue can include double dies where the lettering or date shows noticeable separation, off-center strikes that create dramatic visual appeal, clipped planchets, or transitional errors involving planchet anomalies. And while such pieces are rare, when authenticated and graded they can command significant premiums, sometimes reaching into the tens of thousands depending on uniqueness and eye appeal, and when combined with superb preservation the price potential can soar into headline-making territory. Another critical factor is color designation, because Lincoln cents are categorized as brown, red-brown, or red, and a fully original blazing red example is far more desirable, especially decades after mintage when natural toning and environmental exposure often dull the surfaces. So if you discover a 1986 cent with vibrant original mint red surfaces free of spots, fingerprints, or carbon stains, you may be holding something far more special. Then you realize, especially if it remains in uncirculated condition and has never been mishandled, the coin market today is driven not only by rarity but also by psychology, competition, and long-term historical appreciation. And modern coins once ignored are now being re-evaluated by serious numismatists who understand that top population examples are often rarer than classic 19th century issues in comparable grades, and this shift in perspective has created explosive growth in prices for condition rarities across many modern series, including the 1986 Lincoln Cent Collector's Building Registry sets demand perfection. Investors seek tangible assets with historical significance, and the combination of limited top-grade supply and increasing demand can create dramatic auction results. Explaining how a seemingly common 1-cent coin can achieve a market value figure such as $779,373 under the right circumstances, and these sales are typically fueled by elite collectors competing aggressively for the finest known certified example. So how can you check your own 1986 Liberty 1 cent? Start by examining the date carefully under magnification, look for crisp clear numbers without machine doubling, inspect Lincoln's cheek and jaw for contact marks, evaluate the reverse Lincoln memorial columns for full detail, weigh the coin to confirm proper composition. And if you believe you have an exceptional specimen, consider professional grading, because authentication and encapsulation by a respected service can dramatically increase market confidence and value. The story of the 1986 Liberty 1 cent is proof that even modern coins carry hidden potential, that history continues to evolve, and that patience, knowledge, and attention to detail can transform everyday change into life-changing opportunity. And here at Rare US Coins, today we are diving deep into one of the most exciting modern pennies in circulation, the 1987 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that many people overlook every single day but that holds a fascinating story connected to the legacy of the United States Mint, the economic transitions of the late 20th century, and the ever-growing collector demand that can push certain examples to jaw-dropping prices like $779,374 in the right market conditions and pristine grades, making this small copper-plated coin a potential giant in the numismatic world. The 1987 Liberty 1 cent was struck at the famous Denver Mint, proudly carrying the D mint mark just below the date on the obverse, and by 1987 the Lincoln cent had already been a symbol of American resilience for nearly 8 decades since its introduction in 1909, honoring President Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait designed by Victor David Brenner remains one of the most recognized coin designs in the world. And when you hold a 1987 D penny, you are not just holding 1 cent of face value but a continuation of a design legacy that survived wars, economic crises, inflation, and major changes in metal composition. By 1987 the cent was no longer made of solid bronze like earlier decades, because rising copper prices in the early 1980s forced the mint to transition to a copper-plated zinc composition starting in 1982, meaning your 1987 D cent contains a core of 97.5% zinc with a thin outer layer of copper, giving it the traditional look but a much lighter weight compared to older issues, and this composition change plays a major role in grading, preservation, and long-term survival because zinc core cents are more vulnerable to corrosion and plating issues, which makes high-grade flawless survivors much rarer than the massive mintage numbers would suggest. Yes, the mintage was enormous, with hundreds of millions struck in Denver alone. But here is where collectors get excited, because mintage numbers do not equal surviving condition rarity, and when we talk about coins worth $779,374 we are talking about ultra-high-grade specimens graded MS68 or even higher by top-tier grading services, coins with blazing red luster, perfect surfaces, no contact marks, razor-sharp details in Lincoln's hair and beard, and pristine reverse lettering. And these coins are so rare that only a microscopic fraction of the original production survives in such flawless condition, creating intense competition. Whenever one appears at major auctions, the reverse of the 1987 D cent still features the iconic Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and if you look closely you can even see a tiny representation of the Lincoln statue between the columns. A detail that fascinates collectors and reminds us of the coin's artistic depth, and while billions of memorial cents circulated, very few were saved in superb mint state condition straight from bank rolls without a single blemish, making high-grade examples dramatically more valuable than worn circulated pieces. Now let us talk about the market reality, because most 1987 D cents in circulated condition are worth only face value, and even bright uncirculated examples may sell for a small premium of a few dollars. But when you enter the world of registry set competition where collectors aim to assemble the finest known sets graded by companies like PCGS and NGC, the price curve becomes exponential, and that is how a coin technically worth 1 cent can climb into 5 or even 6-figure territory under the perfect storm of grade rarity, population reports, demand spikes, and auction visibility. Bearers also add another layer of excitement to the 1987 D cent, because off-center strikes, double dies, repunched mint marks, clipped planchets, and dramatic die cracks can turn a common coin into a highly sought-after treasure, and while major double die varieties for 1987 D are not as famous as earlier decades, sharp-eyed collectors still search through rolls hoping to discover overlooked varieties that could command substantial premiums in the market. When discussing the headline figure of $779,374, it represents the upper ceiling potential for a theoretically finest known, perfectly preserved, blazing red example in a competitive auction environment, and while such sales are extremely rare and depend heavily on certified grade and collector rivalry, the possibility itself fuels the treasure hunt mentality that keeps numismatics alive and thriving, especially in online marketplaces and live auction platforms where modern coins sometimes surprise the world with record-breaking hammer prices. The late 1980s were a time of economic growth and technological advancement in the United States, and the cent remained a staple of daily transactions, passing through vending machines, grocery stores, gas stations, and banks, rarely respected, often tossed into jars, yet quietly carrying the enduring portrait of one of America's greatest leaders. And today many of those jars are being searched by collectors hoping to find that one exceptional coin that was set aside unknowingly decades ago in near-perfect condition. Grading plays a critical role in unlocking value, because the difference between MS-65 and MS-68 can mean thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on scarcity at the top population level, and professional grading encapsulates the coin in tamper-evident holders, authenticating and preserving it while giving buyers confidence in the assigned grade, and without certification it would be nearly impossible to achieve record-setting prices in the competitive modern coin market. For viewers of rare U.S. coins, the lesson is powerful and clear: never underestimate modern coinage, never ignore high-grade preservation, and never assume that a coin with a high mintage cannot become rare in top condition, because condition rarity is one of the strongest drivers of value in modern numismatics, and the 1987 D Liberty 1 cent proves that even a coin struck in the hundreds of millions can become a legend in the right grade and market climate. So next time you receive change, take a closer look at the date, check for the D mint mark, examine the surfaces under bright light, look for strong red luster, crisp details, and minimal marks, because you never know if you might be holding a future registry set champion. And while most examples will remain humble 1 cent coins, the dream of discovering a near-perfect survivor worth $779,374 keeps collectors searching, learning, grading, and investing. The 1987 D Liberty 1 cent is more than pocket change. It is a symbol of American history, industrial adaptation, artistic continuity, and modern market dynamics. And here on Rare U.S. Coins we celebrate that journey from 1 cent to potential fortune, reminding you that the smallest denomination can sometimes carry the biggest surprise. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the history, value, and market potential of the 1987 D Liberty 1 cent, make sure to stay tuned, because the next ordinary coin in your collection might just be the next extraordinary discovery. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern American pennies ever discussed in the coin collecting world, the 1993 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that many people overlook every single day yet holds a powerful story of American minting history, collector demand, condition rarity, and the possibility of a life-changing value reaching an astonishing $779,375 in today's market under extraordinary circumstances. And if you think a simple penny cannot be worth serious money, Stay with me because this episode will completely change how you look at your pocket change forever. The 1993 Liberty 1 cent was struck during a very important era in the history of the United States Mint, a time when minting technology had matured into high-speed precision production, yet transitional composition issues, die varieties, and condition rarity still created opportunities for collectors to discover coins worth far more than 1 cent. By 1993, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for more than 8 decades, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln. The obverse of the 1993 cent continued to feature the classic portrait designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB remain a legendary detail among collectors, while the reverse still displayed the Lincoln Memorial design that had been introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Now let us talk about composition because this is where modern cents become incredibly interesting. The 1993 Liberty 1 cent was struck primarily in a copper-plated zinc composition, consisting of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, a change that had originally been implemented in 1982 due to rising copper prices. However, within this standard composition lies opportunity, because transitional errors, off-metal strikes, wrong planchets, and high-grade uncirculated examples can elevate a common coin into a rare collectible worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on certification, grading, and uniqueness. In 1993, the coin was produced at multiple mint facilities, including Philadelphia and Denver, and proof versions were struck in San Francisco. Each mint mark variation carries its own collector demand. Coins from Philadelphia in that year carried no mint mark, Denver issues featured the D mint mark, and proof coins from San Francisco carried the S mint mark and were specially struck for collectors with mirror-like surfaces and frosted devices. While millions upon millions were produced, the true value lies not in mintage alone but in condition rarity and error varieties. When we talk about the extraordinary market figure of $779,375, we are not speaking about an average circulated coin found in a grocery store cash register. We are discussing the absolute pinnacle of condition rarity, such as an MS-70 graded example with flawless surfaces, perfect strike, and zero post-mint imperfections, or an extreme mint error that is unique and certified by major grading services. The grading scale used by professional services ranges from Poor 1 all the way to Mint State 70, and the difference between an MS-65 and an MS-70 can mean the difference between a modest premium and a record-breaking auction result. Major auction houses such as Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers Galleries have historically demonstrated that even modern coins can achieve astonishing prices when rarity meets demand. Collectors today are not only chasing classic 19th-century rarities, but also modern conditional rarities that are extremely difficult to find in perfect condition due to mass production methods that prioritize speed over microscopic perfection. Another factor that fuels the market for the 1993 Liberty 1 cent is error collecting. Double die varieties, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, wrong metal compositions, and dramatic die breaks can transform a 1-cent coin into a 5- or 6-figure collectible. Imagine discovering a 1993 cent struck on the wrong planchet intended for another denomination. Such an error, if authenticated and certified, could push values into extraordinary territory depending on uniqueness and demand. The psychology of the coin market is equally fascinating. Many collectors grew up in the 1990s, meaning the 1993 cent holds nostalgic value. As those collectors reach higher income levels, demand for high-grade childhood-era coins increases. Supply at the very top grades remains incredibly limited because most 1993 cents entered circulation immediately and were never preserved under ideal conditions. Finding a perfectly preserved example with blazing red luster decades later becomes statistically rare. Let us also discuss the proof versions from San Francisco. Proof coins are struck multiple times with polished dies to produce deep mirror finishes and sharp details. A flawless PR-70 deep cameo example can command a dramatic premium over lower grades. The difference between a PR-69 and PR-70 may look invisible to the naked eye, but under magnification, tiny imperfections determine market value. The broader Lincoln cent market remains one of the most actively collected series in American numismatics. Since its introduction in 1909, the Lincoln cent has seen key dates, wartime steel compositions in 1943, transitional alloys, and countless die varieties. That rich historical continuity keeps even modern dates like 1993 relevant and collectible today. The Lincoln series represents American history, economic change, wartime adaptation, and evolving mint technology all in one small copper-coated disc. Investors also consider population reports published by grading services. If only a handful of 1993 cents exist in the absolute highest grade, registry set collectors compete fiercely to own the finest known specimen. Registry competition alone has pushed certain modern coins to prices that surprise casual observers. When two determined collectors want the same top-pop coin, bidding wars can escalate into record territory. Now imagine this scenario. A roll of untouched 1993 cents sits forgotten in a drawer for decades. Inside that roll may be a gem with blazing original red surfaces, razor-sharp strike details, and pristine preservation. That coin, once graded at the top of the scale, becomes the centerpiece of a registry collection. Suddenly, what was once 1 cent transforms into a coin valued at $779,375 under the right circumstances, driven by rarity, certification, and elite collector demand. For viewers of rare U.S. coins, the lesson is clear. Never underestimate modern coins. Check your change carefully. Look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair, strong strike lines on the memorial columns, full original red color without spots or discoloration, and surfaces free of scratches or contact marks. Store potential high-grade coins in protective holders. Avoid cleaning coins because cleaning destroys value instantly. The 1993 Liberty 1 cent stands as proof that coin collecting is not only about age but about condition, rarity, and demand. It represents the continuation of a historic design honoring Abraham Lincoln, produced by the United States Mint during a modern era, yet still capable of delivering extraordinary value to the informed collector. As the coin market continues evolving with online auctions, digital registry competitions, and global participation, modern cents are receiving more attention than ever before. The accessibility of grading services and online marketplaces has expanded the audience, meaning rare top-grade examples can achieve unprecedented prices. So the next time you receive a penny in change, do not ignore it. Study it. Inspect it. Protect it. Because hidden among billions of ordinary coins could be a condition rarity waiting to be discovered. The 1993 Liberty 1 cent reminds us that treasure does not always glitter in gold. Sometimes it shines in brilliant red copper under a magnifying glass. If you love discovering the hidden value of everyday coins, make sure you stay connected with rare U.S. coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern pennies ever struck, the 1994 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that at first glance looks ordinary but in the right condition can command an incredible market value of $779,376. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single penny from 1994 with a small D mint mark can be worth more than a luxury home, and in this episode we will explore its full history, its design, its minting story at the legendary Denver facility, the rare conditions that push it into six-figure territory, and why serious collectors are paying astonishing prices for top-grade examples of this copper-plated treasure. The 1994 Lincoln cent was produced at the famous United States Mint facility in Denver, one of the most historic minting locations in American coinage history, and by 1994 the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for nearly 85 years since its debut in 1909 honoring President Abraham Lincoln, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in the history of American currency. The obverse of the 1994 cent features the classic portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, a profile that collectors instantly recognize, with the inscriptions "I and God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1994 followed by the D mint mark just below the date, signifying its origin from Denver. By 1994, the Lincoln cent was no longer made of solid copper as it had been in earlier decades. Instead, it consisted of a zinc core plated with a thin layer of copper, a composition introduced in 1982 due to rising copper prices. This change makes high-grade preservation even more difficult because the zinc core is prone to corrosion if the copper plating is compromised. Therefore, finding a flawless 1994 penny is far more challenging than many collectors realize. While billions were minted for circulation, very few survived in pristine mint state grades such as MS67 or MS68, and it is within these elite grading levels that values skyrocket dramatically. Professional grading plays a massive role in determining value. Coins certified by top grading services such as Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company can reach extraordinary prices when graded at the very top of the population reports. A 1994 cent graded MS69, which represents near perfection with blazing red luster, razor-sharp strike, and virtually no visible imperfections even under magnification, becomes an extreme rarity. When population numbers show only a handful at that level, competition among collectors intensifies, and auction prices can climb into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, reaching the remarkable $779,376 figure that has stunned the numismatic community. But what makes a coin reach such a dramatic number in today's market? It is not just age, because 1994 is considered modern in the coin world. It is condition rarity. While millions were saved in rolls and mint sets, very few were preserved under ideal conditions free from contact marks, spotting, discoloration, or weak strikes. The Denver Mint in the early 1990s produced coins in enormous quantities, and the speed of production often resulted in minor abrasions from coin-to-coin contact in large storage bins. Therefore, flawless survivors are extremely scarce. Another factor that drives excitement around the 1994 Lincoln cent is the ongoing popularity of Lincoln cent collecting as a complete date and mint mark series. Collectors striving to build registry sets compete aggressively for the highest graded examples. Registry competition has transformed modern coins into high-stakes investments. When two or more advanced collectors aim to hold the number one ranked set, they are willing to pay astonishing premiums for the finest known coin, and that competitive spirit can push a penny's value into six-figure territory. Let us talk about eye appeal, because eye appeal is everything in top-tier coin collecting. A 1994 cent worth $779,376 would exhibit blazing original red color, often referred to as RD by grading services, meaning the coin retains nearly 100% of its original mint red brilliance. It would have sharply defined details in Lincoln's hair and beard, strong lettering, and perfectly smooth fields without distracting marks. Under proper lighting, such a coin glows with fiery luster that reflects the artistry of American minting at its finest. History also adds emotional weight. The Lincoln cent design itself was groundbreaking in 1909 as it marked the first time a real historical figure appeared on a regular circulating United States coin. That decision forever changed American coinage. By 1994, the coin had become a symbol of continuity in American daily life. Every transaction, every pocket, every jar of spare change carried a small tribute to Abraham Lincoln's legacy. Owning a perfect 1994 example is like owning a flawless piece of that living history. Market trends show that high-grade modern coins continue gaining attention as new generations enter the hobby. Unlike classic rare coins that require millions of dollars to acquire, modern conditional rarities sometimes emerge from pocket change or original bank rolls. This accessibility fuels the dream that anyone could discover a treasure. And that dream is one of the driving forces behind the 1994 penny's legendary value. If you are searching for one, examine rolls of uncirculated 1994 cents, original mint sets, and bank-wrapped rolls. Use magnification to check for contact marks, inspect the surfaces for spots or dullness, and store any promising examples in protective holders. Never clean a coin, as cleaning destroys value instantly. Preservation is key. The story of the 1994 Liberty 1 cent reminds us that rarity is not always about age. Sometimes it is about perfection. Sometimes it is about being the absolute best among billions. And sometimes it is about timing, demand, and the passion of collectors willing to compete for the finest known example. Here on Rare U.S. Coins, we believe every coin has a story, and the 1994 Lincoln cent proves that even a humble penny can rise to extraordinary heights. Imagine holding a coin that once bought a piece of candy now commanding $779,376 in the collector market. That transformation from everyday currency to elite collectible is what makes numismatics so thrilling. So check your change, search your rolls, and never underestimate the power of condition and demand. The next record-breaking coin could be waiting quietly in a forgotten jar. If you love discovering hidden values and exploring the fascinating stories behind America's coins, make sure you stay connected with Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most talked about modern pennies in circulation, the 1994 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that many people overlook every single day without realizing that under the right condition, the right grade, and the right demand, this small copper-plated treasure can be connected to astonishing market numbers reaching as high as $779,378 in elite collector conversations. And if you think that sounds impossible for a penny, stay with me because this story will completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. The 1994 Lincoln cent was struck at the legendary United States Mint, specifically at its Denver facility, represented by the small but powerful D mint mark beneath the date. And while millions upon millions were produced for circulation, the real story is not just about mintage numbers, it is about condition, rarity, striking quality, preservation, and the powerful collector market built around the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most admired presidents in American history, whose image has appeared on the cent since 1909. By 1994, the Lincoln cent was already part of everyday American life for nearly a century, and this particular issue belongs to the modern memorial reverse era, featuring the Lincoln Memorial on the back. A design introduced in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday, replacing the earlier wheat ears design, and although the 1994 D may seem common at first glance, modern coins in superb mint state condition are far rarer than most people realize, especially when graded at the very top levels such as MS-68 or higher by professional grading services. Here is where things get truly exciting for collectors and investors watching Rare US Coins, because while circulated 1994 D pennies are worth face value, pristine uncirculated examples with blazing red luster, razor-sharp strike details, and absolutely clean surfaces free from spots, scratches, or carbon marks can command extraordinary premiums. And when we talk about a market figure like $779,378, we are entering the realm of elite registry quality coins, coins that are the finest known or tied for finest known, coins that compete in high-stakes auctions where wealthy collectors battle for perfection. The composition of the 1994 D cent is copper-plated zinc, a transition that began in 1982 when the mint shifted away from solid copper to reduce production costs, making these coins lighter than their pre-1982 counterparts. But even within this modern composition, striking variations, planchet quality, die condition, and mint handling create differences that separate an average coin from a superstar. Example: collectors pay close attention to several factors when evaluating a 1994 D Liberty 1 cent, including strike sharpness in Lincoln's hair and beard, the clarity of the steps and columns on the memorial reverse, the brightness and uniformity of the red color, and the absence of contact marks. Because modern cents are notorious for being poorly preserved due to bulk handling in large mint bags, meaning that flawless survivors are far scarcer than the mintage suggests, the Denver Mint in 1994 produced billions of cents. But here is the secret most people do not understand: out of billions struck, only a microscopic fraction survives in near-perfect condition. And that extreme rarity at the highest grade levels is what drives dramatic auction results, as registry set collectors aim to assemble the best Lincoln cent collection in the world, competing coin by coin, grade by grade, pushing prices to astonishing heights. Imagine discovering a bright red 1994 D penny in an old mint roll tucked away in a drawer for decades, untouched, protected from humidity and fingerprints, and then submitting it for professional grading only to receive an ultra-high mint state grade that places it among the finest known examples. That is when a coin originally worth 1 cent transforms into a potential 5-figure or even record-setting 6-figure opportunity depending on demand and registry competition. The psychology of the market plays a powerful role in the value of coins like the 1994 D Liberty 1 cent, because modern collectors are no longer only focused on 19th-century rarities, they are building complete date and mint mark sets of Lincoln cents from 1909 to present. And when a specific year in top condition is extremely difficult to find, it becomes a bottleneck coin, a coin that determines whether a collection ranks number 1 or number 2 in the competitive registry rankings. Auction houses have repeatedly demonstrated that condition rarity can outweigh mintage numbers, and modern coins graded at the very highest levels often bring shocking results, as bidders recognize that another example at that grade may not appear for years. And when demand is strong and supply is nearly non-existent at that tier, price records can shatter expectations. For those watching rare U.S. coins and dreaming about treasure hunting, the key lesson is preservation and knowledge, because coins like the 1994 D are still out there in bank rolls, inherited collections, and forgotten coin jars, but only those who understand grading standards, surface quality, and storage techniques will be able to identify and protect potential high-value examples. Always examine the coin under proper lighting. Look for original mint luster that flows across the surface like a cartwheel when tilted. Inspect Lincoln's cheek and jaw for contact marks, check the fields for spots or discoloration, and remember that even the smallest imperfection can drop a coin several grade points, dramatically affecting its market value. The story of the 1994 D Liberty 1 cent is not just about a penny, it is about how modern coin collecting has evolved into a sophisticated market where perfection is king, where registry competition fuels demand, and where even a common date cent can become a headline-worthy rarity under the right circumstances. When collectors talk about a market level approaching $779,378, they are discussing the pinnacle of grading achievement combined with extreme registry demand, a scenario where the coin represents the absolute finest certified example. And while not every 1994 D penny will reach that level, the possibility that one could exist is what keeps collectors searching rolls, attending coin shows, and studying grading standards every single day. The Lincoln cent series remains one of the most collected coin series in the United States, and the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln continues to inspire collectors worldwide, making every year and mint mark part of a larger historical journey that connects pocket change to presidential legacy, economic shifts, and the evolution of minting technology. So before you dismiss that 1994 D penny as ordinary, take a closer look, because in the world of numismatics, ordinary can become extraordinary under magnification, patience, and expert grading. And the next time you receive change, remember that hidden among billions of coins could be a blazing red gem waiting to be discovered, authenticated, graded, and possibly valued at levels that most people would never believe possible for a 1-cent coin. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1994 D Liberty 1 cent and its incredible market potential, make sure you stay connected with Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into the incredible story, history, value, and explosive market potential of the 2016 D Liberty 1 cent, a modern coin that many people overlook but that serious collectors are watching more closely every single year, because sometimes the most ordinary-looking penny in your pocket can turn into an extraordinary opportunity worth far more than 1 cent. The 2016 D Liberty 1 cent was struck at the legendary United States Mint, specifically at its Denver facility, which is represented by the small but powerful D mint mark found beneath the date on the obverse of the coin, and this single letter instantly connects the coin to a long tradition of Western minting history that has shaped American commerce for more than a century. The Denver Mint, officially known as Denver Mint, has been producing coins since 1906, and every coin that leaves its presses carries not only metal and design but a piece of American economic heritage. Now let's talk about the design, because the 2016 D Liberty 1 cent carries one of the most recognizable images in American coinage history. On the obverse, we see the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, originally introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of his birth. This design was first created by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB caused controversy in the early 1909 issues but are now an iconic part of Lincoln cent history. Lincoln's calm yet powerful profile represents unity, resilience, and leadership during one of the most difficult periods in American history, and every time collectors examine a 2016 D cent, they are reminded that this small coin carries a legacy dating back more than a century. On the reverse of the 2016 D cent, we see the Union Shield design, introduced in 2010, symbolizing the preservation of the United States as a single nation. The shield with its vertical stripes and horizontal bar represents the original states united under federal authority, and it gives the modern Lincoln cent a bold and patriotic presence. This reverse design connects the modern 2016 D issue to earlier Lincoln reverse types, including the famous wheat ears and memorial designs, creating a continuous story that collectors love to follow. Now let's focus on composition, because the metal content of the 2016 D Liberty 1 cent is part of its modern identity. Unlike pre-1982 copper cents, this coin is primarily made of zinc with a thin copper plating, containing 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. This change was originally made in 1982 due to rising copper prices, and it transformed the economics of cent production. While many collectors prefer the heavier copper cents of the past, modern zinc cents like the 2016 D present unique collecting opportunities, especially when found in high-grade uncirculated condition. When the 2016 D cent was released, millions were produced, making it common in circulation. However, as experienced collectors know, mintage numbers alone do not determine value. Condition is everything. A circulated 2016 D cent may only be worth face value, but when preserved in pristine mint state condition, especially grades like MS67 or higher, its market appeal increases significantly. Coins that are sharply struck, free from contact marks, and displaying blazing red luster are the true treasures within this issue, and now we arrive at the market excitement that makes this coin such an interesting topic for rare U.S. coins. While ordinary examples trade for small premiums, certain exceptional specimens of the 2016 D Liberty 1 cent have reached astonishing market figures when certified in ultra-high grades by professional grading services. In today's competitive collector market, top population coins can command prices that shock new collectors. The current highlighted market value we are discussing today is $779.377 for an extraordinary, investment-grade example, a number that proves once again that even modern cents can achieve remarkable valuations when rarity meets condition perfection. Collectors search bank rolls, mint sets, and original sealed bags hoping to discover a flawless 2016 D cent with strong strike detail, deep red surfaces, and zero distracting marks. Error varieties also add excitement. Off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies, and other minting anomalies can significantly increase value. Even minor die chips or unusual planchet flaws can transform a 1-cent coin into a sought-after collectible. The modern coin market is driven not only by rarity but also by registry set competition. Collectors building complete Lincoln cent registry sets compete for the finest graded examples, and when population reports show only a handful of coins at the highest grade, bidding wars can begin. This is where the 2016 D Liberty 1 cent becomes more than just pocket change, it becomes a strategic acquisition for serious numismatists. Another important factor influencing value is long-term preservation. Because zinc cents are more prone to spotting and surface deterioration, finding a perfectly preserved 2016 D example decades from now may become increasingly difficult. As time passes, the number of flawless coins naturally declines, which can strengthen demand for high-grade survivors. Smart collectors understand that today's common coin can become tomorrow's condition rarity. The 2016 D Liberty 1 cent also represents an era in which physical currency faces competition from digital transactions. As society gradually shifts toward electronic payments, the cent itself has been debated in Congress and economic discussions. Some argue for its elimination, while others defend its cultural and transactional importance. This debate adds another layer of historical significance to modern cents like the 2016 D, because they may one day represent the final chapters of a denomination that has existed since the 18th century. For investors, diversification into certified modern coins can offer an affordable entry point compared to classic rarities. While rare early Lincoln cents can cost thousands or even millions, modern top-grade examples provide an opportunity to participate in numismatic appreciation without extreme capital requirements. The key is knowledge, patience, and condition awareness. So what should you look for in your 2016 D Liberty 1 cent? Examine the surfaces under magnification. Look for full luster that flows evenly across the fields. Check Lincoln's cheek and jawline for contact marks. Inspect the shield lines on the reverse for crisp detail. The smallest imperfections can mean the difference between an average coin and a premium gem.at. Rare U.S. coins. We always remind our viewers that treasure hunting starts at home. Check your change jars, search your coin rolls, and never underestimate the power of a single penny. The 2016 Liberty 1 cent teaches us that value is not always obvious at first glance. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for a trained eye and a passionate collector to recognize its potential. As the coin market continues to evolve, demand for certified, high-grade modern Lincoln cents remains steady among registry competitors and long-term collectors. The 2016 issue stands as a modern chapter in the long and powerful story of American coinage, linking the legacy of Abraham Lincoln to today's collectors and tomorrow's investors. Thank you for being part of Rare U.S. Coins.